I teach in a third grade inclusion classroom. I have 2 students that are on IEPs and receive special ed services. I have several students that are on free and reduced lunch. My proficiency levels in my classroom varies. I have some kids that are considered advanced, and then I have some students that go all the way down and fall into the below basic category. My mixture of students, I have 11 boys in my classroom and 9 girls. Today we are going to do our second read on our Saving Gorilla story, and we are going to be looking for cause and effect relationships in our story. So our question to think about is, how can we use a nonfiction text to determine a cause and effect relationship? So think time. How are you going to be accountable for your learning today? What do you need to do as a reader today? Think time. Kennedy, how are you accountable for your learning today?
You can be accountable for your learning by, when the person is speaking, you can keep your eyes on them and make sure you're listening to them, or you can agree or disagree with them.
Very good. Thank you, Kennedy. Juliet, how are you accountable for your learning today?
You can be accountable for your learning by you can stay focused on your book and get lost in it and don't pay attention to anything else that's going around.
Very good. Bryson, how are you accountable for your learning today?
You can be accountable for your learning by when someone is talking, you can look at them, and when we're doing read to self, to focus on your book and read the whole time.
Very good. Maddie, oh yeah?
Oh yeah!
Okay, so today I am going to model for you how we use cause and effect relationships. So I have this box of dominoes. And when I think about dominoes, this is a great way to illustrate cause and effect relationships. So if I were to stack up all of these dominoes into a line, okay, hands and eyes?
Hands and eyes.
Okay. If I were to stack up all of these dominoes into a line on the floor, what would happen if the first domino, I pushed it? Think time. What would happen if I pushed over the first domino? Asa, what would happen if I pushed over the first domino?
All of the other dominoes would fall over because the cause of the first domino hit the other ones.
Very good. Now my cause, my reaction is I'm hitting over the dominoes. That is my cause. And the effect of that is a chain reaction. Once I hit the first domino, then the rest of the dominoes are going to do what?
Fall over.
They're going to fall over. And that is the effect. That is what happened because, what did I do?
You caused them to fall. You pushed it all over.
I caused them to fall over. So we've been talking about cause and effect relationships. Today we're going to look in our nonfiction text to see if we can decipher some cause and effect relationships. As a reader, I need to be able to determine when events cause an effect, when something happens because of an event. So if you'll please turn in your book, in your magazine, to page 4, and I'm looking for reading scholars that are ready to go. I love the way I see friends that are ready to go. Okay. Active
listeners.
We have already read this text, so today we are going to closely look at 2 parts. If you'll put your finger on the second paragraph, please. You're going to follow along as I read the second paragraph. All set?
You bet.
Mountain gorillas are highly endangered. It's not just because of the war. Their numbers were already shrinking because of illegal hunting, disease, and loss of habit from deforestation. Today, only about 800 mountain gorillas survive in the wild. Think time. I see my topic sentence is mountain gorillas are highly endangered. So I need to think, is that my cause? Is that an event? Or is that what happened? How do I determine that as a reader? Think time. Mountain gorillas are endangered. Is that the cause? Is that the event that happened? Or is that the effect of the event?
We had already read the text and identified the text features for the informational text. We had dug deep and used context clues for the vocabulary. So today we were looking at a piece of the text and making sure that our evidence from the text supported our response, the cause and effect relationship in the text.
Person with the longest hair is going to talk first. Tyson, how can you be an accountable shoulder partner?
You can be an accountable shoulder partner by listening to them and thinking about what they say before you know if you agree, disagree, or if you would like to add on.
Very good. Let's give Tyson a roller coaster woo. Okay, so person with the longest hair is going to speak first, and you are going to determine mountain gorillas are endangered. Is that the cause or is that the effect? Chatterbox?
I think it's the effect because the cause is because the hunters illegally killed the mountain gorillas, and not just because of the war, but because of the loss of the habitat, diseases, and
It could be more than just war. So, why is
and because of loss of their habitat.
I agree with you because it says in the text that gorillas are highly endangered and diseases and other kind of other kind of diseases are lost habits and what's the word? Because I agree with how they got
Because it is because of deforestation, and if you look in power words, deforestation means the process of clearing an area of forest. That goes along with what I said about the habitat loss, because they're moving their habitats so they can make buildings.
This year in our class, we've worked really hard on accountable talk, and the students are accountable for their learning. So I've modeled, and the students have modeled throughout the year, what does it look like to be accountable for our learning, and how are we an accountable shoulder partner? So that allows the students to take ownership of their learning. So when I hear the conversation that's coming from them instead of me probing them or me asking the questions, when they're asking each other the questions, that's when I'm able to realize that they've grasped that concept or that skill.
Is that word deformation? What word do I see in that word? Forest. So I put the D on front. D for. Very good. Put it together. Deforestation. Okay? Now, that word's highlighted. So if I don't know what that word means, what text feature could I use?
we'll usually say first, but
Do we say verbs? Is that a verb?
I mean power words.
Okay, what's the same as a power word? What text feature is that?
Vocabulary.
Vocabulary word. It's a bold word. Very good. Hey, wrap up your conversation. Shut the up. Olivia, can you please share out with us?
Me and James thought that it was the effect, because if you pick the cause, then it would not make any sense, because that tells why it not what happened.
Okay, agree, disagree, would like to add on.
I agree with Olivia because it's an effect, because People are affected gorillas by killing them.
In my classroom, I use a strategy called no opt, and that means that we don't raise our hands. I use that strategy so that students know that I can call on anyone at any time, and they also know that they're accountable for their thinking and their learning. They know that I can call on any of them when I ask a question, and it also avoids always calling on the same students that raise their hand. So we use that strategy, and we also talk about how it's okay to make mistakes and that we learn by making mistakes. So I will allow them to call on a friend.
I'm going to go off of what Kennedy said, all right? The effect is mountain gorillas are what, boys and girls? Endangered. Endangered. So that is the effect. So we are going to be reading detectives, and we are going to look in paragraph 2 to see if we can determine what is the cause of mountain gorillas being endangered. So you are going to use, I'm going to wait until you're ready. Need hands and eyes. Hands and eyes. So we are going to go into paragraph 2, and we are going to see if we can highlight our evidence. We need to find our evidence for what is the cause of mountain gorillas being endangered. Okay? And I'm going to be an accountable shoulder partner by making sure I'm doing what to my partner?
Listening and making eye contact.
Okay? Making eye contact and being what type of listener?
Active listener.
Active listener. Okay? After you have highlighted your evidence, I would like for you to share out with your shoulder partner. Okay? You may begin. Do you understand what I ask you to do? Okay, get started right away, please.
I think text-based evidence has allowed my children to go deeper. They have to think critically about their learning, and they also are able to decipher, is this implied in the text or is this my opinion or my judgment? So when they're able to show me this is what it says in the text, they're able to decipher between what's implied in the text and then what I think, what are my judgments or feelings about what I just read.
By hunters and diseases have been in the air, so
I like the accountable talk that I'm hearing. Great job. Excuse me, baby. Okay, so if that's the effect that they're endangered, then I ask myself a question. Why are they endangered? What causes mountain gorillas to be endangered? Can you find that evidence in the text?
That means just because maybe coming in they're not here, why?
Okay, Bryson, can you be ready to share out? That's great. Great conversation.
I highlighted that.
I want you to be proactive and use that for now, okay?
In paragraph 2, she said we need to find why mountain gorillas are highly endangered. I think they're endangered because they're getting killed by hunters and diseases have been in the air, so they're getting sick.
We're already shrinking.
I agree with you, but I found my evidence when it says their numbers were already shrinking because of illegal hunting, disease, and loss of habitat from deforestation. And deforestation, the process of clearing an area of a forest.
That's what I was talking about.
So that would mean people are maybe coming and taking their habitat and taking different stuff from it, and they are not living because they can't find their food.
And I also agree with you because if the numbers were already shrinking, so they must have been already getting sick and getting killed already.
Well, because there are diseases and illegal hunting and deforestation because people are coming and taking their stuff from them so they can't find food.
Yeah. Let's see if we can find some extra.
I think students are engaged in a Common Core lesson because it's focused on them. The students are taking ownership for their learning. The lesson is student-based. I'm facilitating the learning, but they are in charge of the discussion with each other, and they're just taking ownership of their learning.
today only about 800 survive in the wild, that would be a cause.
But we're not talking. But we're not talking about the cause right now.
I know, but that would be the cause.
Because of what? I see that key word, that signal word.
Illegal hunting.
Okay, very good. Okay. Goodness gracious.
Great balls of fire!
Okay. Now, when I was conferencing with Sinclair found a signal word in our text. Sinclair, can you share out the signal word that you found in our text? We're in paragraph 2, boys and girls.
The signal word that I found was because, and I found that word in sentence. Their numbers are already shrinking because of illegal hunting.
Very good. Thank you, Sinclair. Go ahead and make sure you highlight that sequence words because. So Sinclair already gave us our first cause. What is one cause, one reason that mountain gorillas are endangered? What evidence from the text did Sinclair give us? Ethan?
It's not just because of the war, but it's also because there's hunters going after gorillas, and there are diseases out there in the wild.
All right, thank you, Ethan. So what I heard Sinclair say, boys and girls, is our first cause for gorillas being endangered is illegal hunting. Thumbs up if you see that evidence in your text. Okay, thank you. Now Bryson made a great discovery as he was reading. He noticed in the text that sometimes there is more than one cause for the same what? Effect. Bryson, excuse me, can you share out what you found?
Ethan said that why they were in danger was because because of the war. But when I read, it didn't say just because of the war. It said it was not just because of the war, and it said that it was because, and it said that it was also because of illegal hunting.
Very good. Thank you for sharing. Roller coaster woo for Bryson. Okay, reading scholars, let's look back in paragraph 2 to make sure I have my evidence. And if you agree with me, I want you to give me a thumbs up. So Sinclair already shared out that my first cause for gorillas being endangered was illegal hunting. Okay? And if I look at this sentence, put your finger on paragraph 2, please. It is not just because of the war. Their numbers were already shrinking because of illegal hunting. What else? Disease and loss of habitat. Okay? So disease and loss of what? Habitat. Loss of habitat. Okay. Did I find my evidence from the text? Yes. So if I were doing a reading response or writing my written response, I could mark that my evidence came from what paragraph? Show me with your fingers. My evidence came right in front of your heart. It's between you and I. Okay, now tell me.
2. Paragraph 2.
All right. Now, before we dismiss for our Reader's Workshop stations, I want you to think about this question today. We're going to answer it at the end of our lesson. Why is it important as a reader to know how to decipher, to know how to determine cause and effect relationships in a nonfiction text? Think time. Why do I need to use this text structure? Why do I need to understand cause and effect relationships?
I'm able to maintain rigor in the classroom by scaffolding my lessons, so it's a process. When I'm teaching a new skill, we'll start with the literal comprehension. I'll model for them, give them an example, and we'll do it together as a class, and then it's a gradual release of the I do, we do, you do model. That way that they're comfortable with the new strategy, but I'm able to gradually release that as we're working through a skill.
I'm looking to see which row is ready to rotate. Before we get our book bins, I'm going to ask you, what are our read to self expectations? Let's see which row is ready to go. Okay. Joseph, can you share with us our first read to self expectation?
Our first read to self expectation is getting lost in your book.
Very good. If you're on the blue row, you may get your book bin. Leave your clipboard on your spot, please. Jeremiah, what is our next read to self expectation?
Next expectation for our read to self is focus on your book, and if somebody's like messing around, that's a no. Ain't no around.
Very good. Green, you may go get your book boxes.
A really cool strategy that I do is I don't just dismiss them from the carpet. I always call on a friend to answer something, to review something we just did, and then I'll dismiss the group to their next spot. That way I'm always reviewing and always spiraling, and we're not wasting time while we're transitioning. The pacing within my classroom, it first depends on the allotted time that we have for each subject. My reading block is an hour and a half, so we start out with a 15 to 20 minute mini lesson, and that is whole group. Then students transition to get their book boxes, and we move into Reader's Workshop.
Hey, third grade. Hey, Miss Jones. Look at the screen for me, please. Please remember how you are accountable for your learning today. Raise the roof. Today is Thursday. If you owe me a reading response today, raise the roof. What two groups owe me a reading response today? A and C owe you a reading response. Very good. I love the way you completed that in a complete sentence. If you are in group B, please bring your green folder and meet me at the table. If you are in group D, please move to your read to self spot. Walking feet. If you are in group C, please move to your read to self spot. Be proactive, please. If you are in group A, please move to your read